And then right before DAngelo comes on, like Kate Hudson, who I've always had a crush on, and even more so after that, sweating, dancing to DAngelo. I'm only human. I am only human. And then I'm like, this is crazy. Why are all these people near us? Second song in, the crowd parts. Fucking Diddy.
Oh, uh-oh.
Oh.
Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by my sensual and sexual co-host, Alexander Volt. Say hello.
I'll be your sugar daddy for the next hour, 2 hours, maybe.
Oh, yes. This is Every Album Ever. Listen to every album in the world. Whole discography per episode. And today, we will be discussing every album by...
I'm so excited to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, DAngelo.
DAngelo, obviously, this is an Alex pick for the day.
I love how I'm somehow, yeah, I know we've cultivated this fan base who likes noise rock and punk rock and metal, but I need to do something to keep myself sane. Sometimes I just want to know what Mike thinks of things, and this is very much that episode.
This is, yeah, so from time to time, we dabble in stuff that's not aggressive or alti underground style music, and we've done things that maybe we weren't too big of fans of, like Destiny's Child, which that went about as well as you could expect. We've done lots of hip hop, although hip hop is generally we enjoy that much more, but stuff that we've definitely dabbled in things not our style, such as the Spice Girls as well. What the hell else have we covered that sucks?
I mean, we've done a lot of suck, but like outside of our comfort zone, really not too much. And the Destiny's Child episode very, very much like excelled this pick for me. He's been in the, pun intended, in the pocket, like his music, for a while, and I didn't know when to pull the trigger on it. And I think you said something about how much you hate R&B or something, and I was just like, I'm gonna make you listen to DAngelo, because if anyone is going to like be the exception to the rule or convert anybody, it's gonna be DAngelo.
And even because like this is like totally not my style or my bag at all. But we did an episode way back when on Lauryn Hill on her one album, and even that was like, yeah, this is not my thing. But I am not gonna deny how great of an album this is. Obviously a great album. I'm not gonna really go back to it. I don't really have the the inclination for that, but I appreciate it. And then listening to DAngelo, I'm going in like, okay, Alex is a big fan. I'm sure there's going to be, no, he's not going to suck. It's not going to be for me, but he's not going to suck. And I go in, I love him.
Yeah.
Dude, all three albums, they're staying in my library, dude. I love them.
Fuck yes. That's this man is fucking magical. Like,
he's magic, dude.
He really is magic. Like, man, I'm so fucking excited you love his like, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who's like impartial to DAngelo, and I think a lot of his music you could have on in the background and mistaken it for normal R&B. I think that's very much by design, but for music nerds like ourselves, there is so much to sink your teeth into. So much. And so the thing that grabbed me immediately before even listening to any music were the time, not his, well, his abs are indeed very, very nice for a time period. They were very nice for a time period, Alex. It was the time gaps between albums. Already that sets off little bells of like, that's not what they do. That's not what they do in pop music. That's not what they do to my limited knowledge of R&B and hip hop. They don't go, they don't have a massive success with a debut album and then wait 5 years to put out another one. I was like, that's different. That's odd. 14 years for the third one.
And then 14 for the follow-up. And apparently DAngelo is in the process of recording a follow-up as we speak. Of course, Who knows how long that'll take? But we'll
as
do
long
loose
as
ends
he
and
needs. He's
as
he's
long as he
perfect.
fucking needs. That's all right. As long as he needs. So I already felt like this is already out of the ordinary. There's probably going to be something different here, and I was not disappointed with like the jumps from one to the next of like, this is, yeah, on paper, he's this sensual R&B soulful singer doing, falsetto vocals and a lot of funk and soul influence. But make no mistake, buddy, this is an artist through and through. I mean, by the end, good God, I mean, there is so much adventuring.
Absolutely. I think that's how he was marketed by the labels in the 90s, but he was never that dude. Very much inspired by a Prince or a Stevie Wonder type artist. He's capable of playing all his instruments. And what he did for the term urban music sounds like kind of backhanded, but I'll just say like hip hop, R&B, black music in the like late 90s, early 2000s is like there's one person who worked on Voodoo. I apologize. I believe it was the engineer who said like he was so disinterested with what was going on in hip hop and R&B. And he was like, and then I worked on Voodoo and DAngelo showed me this is the way. This is how you make music. I'm not from here on. I'm sure he like probably produced some other pop stuff, but he's like the dude saved me. And honestly, I think he saved a lot of people.
Everyone except himself. Homeboy went through some problems following Voodoo.
I mean, yeah, and it's so funny to like be marketed as this sex symbol and like just reject it so wholeheartedly.
I love it.
Like I admire it so much.
What we're hinting at is that while he's a very sexy man, and when that became a little too much for his comfort, he's like, "Fuck y'all, I'm not going to be sexy anymore," and became fat. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty funny.
It's pretty cool. And let me tell you, I'll get in more details when we get there. I've seen a chunkier DAngelo perform live, and it doesn't matter to the ladies.
Why would it? Honestly, it's people think women are a lot more shallow than they actually are. Men are far more easy to sway with a body. And the DAngelo, it's inside. All right, it's in here.
It is, because I've never read the liner notes for Voodoo, and I read them like I don't know. I was inspired, or what drove me to read them, and like part of the liner notes is kind of like a manifesto to like how beautiful women are, and not in like a superficial way, but like spiritually. And I'm like,
that's how you do it. Take note, fellas.
It is. It's not that the abs definitely accelerated it, but like the dude is just, he has a great brain. Just like Mike said, an artist through and through.
Yeah. We have some notes here from our boy Tom Osman. You should all go support and follow. It's an interview with DAngelo from 2014, from GQ by Amy Wallace, and it's a little bit editorialized. So it's going to be, I'm going to try to like pick out the stuff, because the quotes are kind of interwoven with like a lot of like, statements, and it's very editorialized, just put it that way. So I'm going to try to like make as much sense of it as I can, but very interesting though, because this guy had a hell of an upbringing and journey, and there's a real good reason why there's giant gaps between every album, and the fact that these gaps not only didn't derail his career, they've derailed, I would say fleeting, or like in the short term derailed his career, but long term no, because he's so beloved and sought after and appreciated that this guy can literally disappear for 15 years and they're still like, please come back. We will give you all these things. Please come back.
Dude, when getting a little head, like when Black Messiah drop, that was crazy. I felt like we woke up from am I in the Matrix? Like, am I hearing new DAngelo music? It was quite, and I love to see it. I love that there was still the demand there and people still knew what the fuck was up.
And that was 10 years ago at this point, which is insane. It blows my mind that I thought I was around and I was like excited for it. I obviously had no idea. I mean, like looking back now, that how quickly it became, oh, well, that was a decade ago. I mean, he still hasn't had another thing out, and he claims to be working on something else. He's been doing little things here and there with other big stars and putting out like a track here and there with other people, but nothing like this, like his albums.
I think that was the difference between Black Messiah and whatever comes out next. And like Voodoo and Black Messiah, he was very elusive. It was like you'd get little pepperings, maybe like a random show here and there, but he felt more elusive, where like this time he's like stayed in the public eye a little bit more, toured a little more frequently.
Yeah, he's showing his face a lot more. I think he's doing a lot better in terms of recovery and all that stuff. There was a car accidents in management dropping him. There was like a lot of nastiness following Voodoo. But in terms of where he came from, his real name is Michael Eugene Archer, which is not even close to DAngelo, which I was not expecting that big of a difference in real name. But this piece says, Michael played the organ at his father's church and helped lead the choir when he was 9. However, his dad was quote unquote battling his own demons and the boys went to live with their mom for good. After that, me and my father really didn't have much contact with each other. So when he was young, he witnessed a lot of like church going, exorcism, speaking in tongues kind of stuff, which I believe it seems like it shaped the hell out of him. Because there's this chunk right here it's a pretty gnarly, interesting thing. It says, at one Friday night revival, he noticed a woman in a pew a few rows up. She was acting strange, tugging at her clothes, foaming at the mouth, ripping at the Bible. She was possessed by evil, he says, breaking the word in two. It was a long, hot, steamy night, and that demon disrupted it. He recalls his grandfather and the other ministers praying hard as the woman crawled on all fours, screamed, and ran outside to jump on the hoods of cars. The demon was raising holy hell, and my grandfather came outside. He had big hands, and he didn't say a word. He just, DAngelo raises his palm to me, and she falls out. That's it. End of story. And that's how you get an eccentric young cat.
Ooh, man. Yeah, that is crazy. And yeah, there is this something in the waters where with musicians, whenever I see they like grew up playing like gospel music, I'm like, they're shredders. I don't care what they put. I don't care if they're singers, drummers. They're shredders if they grew up playing. I don't know what it is about that music. This instills such a like solid and like creative background.
Well, if I had to guess, at least for black churches, you can't suck and be in the choir. So that's one.
That's true. That's true.
So if you're not good, I think you probably get weeded out early on. And then after that, they start them young. And there it is. If you're starting them young, you're going to be a shredder. It's just the way it is. It's very hard to not be a shredder if you start young.
Yeah, what we establish with Mr. DAngelo.
DAngelo, hell yeah, that's his name. So listen, Dan. It goes on to say, already Michael was developing into the musical connoisseur that DAngelo is today. His uncle Cece was a truck driver who moonlighted as a DJ, and he had a huge record collection. This was the beginning of what D now calls going to school, and delving deep into jazz, soul, rock, and gospel history, from Mahalia Jackson to Bandit Gypsies, from the Meters to Miles Davis to Donald Byrd, from Sam Cooke to Otis Redding, from Donny Hathaway to Curtis Mayfield to Sly Stone to Marvin Gaye. When Michael turned 19 was the year he changed his name to a moniker inspired by Michelangelo, whatever the fuck. That was also the year that his demo tape found its way into the hands of Gary Harris, then an A&R executive at EMI Music. This is like, because you can give more of a first-hand account because you've actually seen him live, but that is the thing that I kept encountering of like, oh, this guy live, forget about it. And apparently that was from birth, because it says
from birth, yeah.
At the first meeting, D played a little Al Green on the piano and appeared to be just another young kid with a lot of mystery. Earlier, Harris had seen a video taken at a talent show when D was 8. He's playing the chords from Thriller, and then he starts singing. It's close to midnight. Something's evil lurking in the dark. He was killing it. Harris recalls. We used to call it get in the spirit in church. He's the rarest of breeds, a genuine live attraction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, there was something in the air that night. And again, it was like very distracting. It was a very like surreal experience. And I almost like, I should probably see him again. But I don't like, do I want to? Because that concert was so weird for
Why was it
reasons
weird?
beyond DAngelo's control. I'll just get to it now. Fuck it. So it was, I hate the Novo in LA, like by Staples Center. I hate that venue. It sounds like shit. The sight line is awful unless you're in the pit. So anyways, it's packed by the time we get there. Also, it's appropriately summer. It's fucking hot in there, as it should be for a DAngelo concert. And then, I don't know if their VIP sucks or what it was, but we were standing around the sound, like where the mix live sound guy's at. And then I jokingly tell our friend Dylan, hey, that guy, that looks like Russell Simmons. He's like, that is Russell Simmons. And this was before everything came out. I didn't know what a fucking monster he was. No one knew. Well,
Wait, who the hell is Russell Simmons?
He owned Def Jam.
Oh, go
and
on.
is Rev from Run DMC his brother or cousin? Sorry, I forget. But they're related.
Oh, I was going to say Run DMC, but I thought it was going to sound racist.
No. So then, like, people just start flooding in. Like, there's Anthony Anderson, another person who got, like, exposed. Omarion from B2K comes in. I think he's the only good person who was there. And like, all these people are, like, almost within arm's length of me. Like, I shouldn't be this close to these people. And this is, like, before DAngelo even goes on. And then right before DAngelo comes on, like, Kate Hudson, who I've always had a crush on, and even more so after that. To be fair, I may have been looking at Kate Hudson more than DAngelo that night.
What? I don't blame you at all. Yeah, I get it.
Sweating, dancing to DAngelo. I'm only human. I am only human. And Rashida Jones. And then I'm like, this is crazy. Why are all these people near us? And then he starts playing, and it's just crazy. It's amazing. It sounds great. Second song in, the crowd parts like the fucking, like Moses. I was like, who the fuck is this? Because at this point, I know, like, we're just surrounded by so many people at this point. Who the fuck is this? Fucking Diddy.
Oh, uh-oh. Oh, shit.
Again, no one knew. And I think
they all knew, dude. All the people there, they all knew.
That's why they parted. That's why they moved. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So he was with a woman, surprisingly now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming she's a model. She's fucking gorgeous. This guy, like, made her sit on his lap. And at the time, I thought Russell Simmons was a gentleman. This Russell Simmons, like, bought a chair over for this woman so she didn't have to sit in Diddy's lap.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, Russell Simmons. And also, at the time, I was just like, Russell Simmons is like, because Rashida Jones was on her cell phone the whole time. She could not give a fuck. Russell,
well, I no longer care about her at all. I mean, not that I was a big fan. Well, I mean, she thought she was fine.
Sure.
Now she stinks. She stinks now. There it is. Fuck Parks and Rec, even though I like the show.
Russell Simmons does not touch his phone. He does not really interact with some. He may say a few words, but he is engaged, and I know he sucks now. But for someone who's been in the music industry for that long to just, like, see him, like, still be a fan and want to engage in a live act, I thought it was pretty fucking cool. And then the music was just phenomenal, like phenomenally great. And then I hate to admit it, but the highlight was when he plays Untitled. And
Really?
now a different flood came in. I've never seen women react like this at a show, because I don't go to shows where women should react like this.
Yeah, they're all just remembering the music video.
I've never seen panties thrown on stage before, let alone that many.
Wow.
Holy fuck. Like, you could, like, it was already warm and sweaty in there, but like, you could
became clammy.
You could feel it getting clammy and moist in there. And they don't care. They don't care that he was mostly fully clothed, that he was a little chubbier. They were like, things I've only seen, like people reacting to like the Beatles. I'm like, people don't react that way anymore. We're all so jaded and dead inside. No one reacts like that anymore. DAngelo. Also, women of all ages, because, you know, they probably, some in their 40s and 50s grew up listening. They like bought it out of them. It was phenomenal. I'll never forget that night.
Wow, you were in stone's throw distance of Diddy, and you made it out alive.
Made it
out with your booty intact.
Yeah, at least minimum 3 sexual predators.
Minimum. Jeez Louise, man. Oh wow, that's a hell of a story. I can see why you'd be nervous to see him again. I mean, you ain't topping that. That's fate.
Yeah, I mean, I would like love to just go and like be engaged with the music, and I was, but it was just like the temperature, the like being so close to these people that I have like no business being around. And like I said, we just had general admission, and I don't know if the Novo sucks for VIP or if people were like, no, we don't want the VIP. We want to be amongst
up there,
like amongst the people.
That could be. That's a good point. I wonder if it was. Yeah.
So
the bond.
So yeah, it was quite the evening that only gets more and more insane as we find out how deranged some of these people.
That was a dark little group of people you got there, and that is not a racial joke. Those are some evil motherfuckers.
Oh, dude.
Oh boy, man.
Like, yeah, now I know why Russell Simmons and Diddy were hanging out. Like, they were probably did something. A lot in
common.
Yeah, I thought Russell Simmons was being nice, buying people drinks. Those drinks were probably fucking drugged.
Absolutely.
It's so funny how it was like a surreal, magical night for me, but it was probably an awful night for a few women. Maybe a few dudes, too.
It's more likely a few dudes, honestly. Shit, dude. Oh, man. That's crazy shit.
Are you okay? Omarion, are you okay? Because I didn't see you after a while. Oh, shit.
Who?
Omarion from the group B2K.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because he kind of disappeared. Now I'm worried about him, knowing what we... Anyways, that was a huge... Sorry, that was my equivalent of you, like, with your punk rock lore.
Yeah. That's some insane shit. That's a... Whew.
We haven't even talked about any of the albums. I was gonna save it till we got to like Untitled and like around the Black Messiah era, but it just
Yeah. Lead with the best stuff for sure. Holy crap! But yeah, that I guess that kind of leads us into the first album. Like a little bit of the backstory, a little bit of like why the goddamn dude is so revered. You got a quick glimpse right there.
And yeah, this was like in support of the Black Messiah tour. So this is like to show you what a like fever, like it didn't matter. Voodoo was 14, 15 years ago. Like it was, that was like the fever, sweaty, freak off nature it invoked 15 years later.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. But yeah, so 3 albums as of this year, and the recording of this first album came out in 1995. Most recent, like you said, 2014. And yeah, I mean, we might as well get into it. You ready?
Oh, I'm so ready. Are you kidding me?
All right. This is 1995's Brown Sugar.
I love this evil Christmas intro.
Oh yeah.
Like, are you sure this is R&B?
That's what I thought. I was like, this is a lot jazzier than R&B. That's way more jazz than R&B. I mean, maybe not. Just a lot more jazz than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it gets, and we've kind of settled. It's not like as dark and weird. But.
So vocally, smooth R&B. This is, listening to where it goes, such a different vocal style than what he ends up doing for like the next couple albums. I mean, so different.
Absolutely.
This is really, really straightforward.
It is, but it isn't, because I think like bringing in these organs and, like you said, being so jazzy wasn't really like, I mean, we covered Destiny's Child, like it could have been easy to fall into that trap.
But this is, it's sensual, but loungy and smooth. It's a little bit, there's a term I'm going to use for most of this album, and that term, that's the only thing like I think could accurately describe really, it's slutty jazz. That's what this whole album is.
I was going to go with coffee shop fuck music, but both work. Both work.
And like, so hearing this,
and also like you I have like kind of neglected this album. We got a discography here where everything is good, but due to what we do, Worsley's favorite. So
Alex Worsley's favorite, and so this is raw dog introduction for DAngelo, and I'm listening to this, and you know the title track, I'm like, this is not bad at all. And then All Right comes on, and like, this is, you know what? I don't love all the R&B vocals, but they're implemented so nicely. It's I don't really mind it so much. There's good crazy drum samples. You know what? This is pretty good too. By the time Jones My Bones comes on, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This rules.
Hell yeah.
And from that point on, personal favorite.
Holy shit.
I fucking love this album. This is a fan maker straight up. I had no idea what I was getting into. I love this album.
I mean, you know what? I'm just going to take what I can get. For me, like, I have this idea of like the like artist that DAngelo is, and these are very good songs. But like knowing what he turns into and how this is more like he succeeded despite it. Like, there's a lot of programming and stuff on here and he pulls it off. But like, I very much like the like bringing in musicians era of DAngelo. Should say that opening track produced by Ali Muhammad. Check out our Tribe Called Quest episode.
That's right. Yep. We have a lot of who else is on a bunch of songs? It's Bob Power,
who produced Tribe stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of Tribe overlap here, which you get immediately, because this is a jazzy as fuck album. It's really it's the most jazz, because later on, I mean, he just starts dabbling in a bunch of stuff, but it's like, it's soulful, jazzy, funky R&B with extremely strong arrangements and writing. Like, these hooks, I think, are straight up earworms. They're really, they're not simple bass lines, but compared to what he does with all the arrangements in later albums, they are very simple. They're the easiest to grab onto. Mm-hmm. I like the flow of this album the most, because it's the shortest album. If I'm not misremembering. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 53 minutes. It's the shortest album. It has my favorite flow of it. It has super strong highlights, and it's so smooth, and it has this mood and vibe to it where, yeah, like a loungy kind of jazz. I'm imagining warm, dim lighting. I'm imagining like little glasses of whiskey on the rocks. I'm imagining rain outside. It's like it's a vibe. Classy. It's classy and sensual. it's still pretty romantic and a little fucky. It's got some fuck songs for sure, but it all has so much jazziness in it that it gives it this nice little flavoring, and the writing is just so good. I mean, I mentioned Jones in My Bones being like the turning point where I was like, oh, this just rules. Because there's so many bass lines that are just mean and dark. It doesn't really stick with any kind of one thing. There's some sentimentality, but it's not really. It's mostly like dark funk, dark jazz. One of my all-time favorite songs of his, and one of my favorites here is Smooth. I mean, it's so smooth, but it's just fucking amazing, man.
He was smooth before Santana was smooth.
And so much better, in every possible way better.
The piano and the guitar definitely earning their keep there. It is a really cool song. I'm upset I took so long to listen to this album. It's very juvenile of me, and I don't care. My favorite song has got to be Shit. Damn motherfucker.
It's one of the great song.
It's one of the greatest R&B songs ever.
It's good stuff. It's stuck in my head often. It's a very good song.
That's the other thing. Like, he's cussing, but it gets stuck in your head. It's like he could really say anything. He just happened to be choosing curse words.
Yeah. It's like, super sultry progressions like that it's really man, this is really the R&B album for people who don't like R&B, because I couldn't tell you how many times on that Destiny's Child episode where I said what they're doing is technically amazing. I don't give a fuck about how many notes they're hitting when they're singing. I don't care about these progressions. It's just smooth and boring. But you can argue that he's doing the same exact, not same exact genre, but close enough genre, but it's amazing. So it's really, I can't blame genres, and you just can't blame genres. You can only blame the artist, because this is fucking wonderful.
It is. Yeah, like even like the idea of a 90s R&B artist covering Cruising by Smokey Robinson sounds like cringy, like how are they gonna screw this up? And like a true artist, like so many other people we enjoy, he takes Cruisin' and makes it his own thing, to the point where like I'm like, is this better?
Oh, that's how you do it.
That may be blasphemy. But like now I just like, I'm like, that DAngelo version is, given it's been a short period of time, but like I think that's going to be the version that gets stuck in my head now.
Holy shit. Yeah. That one, it's a good pacing choice, because that one, along with a few others, because I think it's probably mostly a dark album, but songs like that liven it up and lighten things up, and it makes it a little bit more hopeful and happy. And the first moment that does that is Me and Those Dreaming Eyes of Mine. And I've never written this about a song ever in my life, but I said that song has some delicious bass lines, and boy do they. Like, yes, they do. the live drum sound that goes with them, it's and there's even a really, really great jazz guitar solo in there. It's a wonderful pacing choice, and it's just a strong track that, on paper I wouldn't care much for that, R&B kind of happy sounding. I'm just really not, none of that ticks any boxes for me. Executed perfectly. Love it.
Yeah, I think that's his most technical song as far as his vocals go for this album. And then strings and horns feel like such a strong like part of funk and soul and R&B, and it kind of sets a trend here. Like when DAngelo uses them, and it's just kind of like a flourish. They're just going to do it the once or twice, and that's it. They're not going to like rely on it. And it's a very like unique thing that I think makes him special and stand out.
Yeah. The way they jump in for one little line, and then they'll wait until the end of the next bar, and they'll jump in with another different line. Like there's a lot of that There's a lot all over the discography, honestly, but yeah, it's very tasteful, and the songs feel they feel loose enough. I mean, I could probably say that about most of the discography, where it's very loose feel to it. You could feel the space in between each instrument. It feels super confident, and like these guys, the reason why it's so loose is because they're so good that they're just not worrying about it. Like that's what it feels like for most of it, and that's why it has such a relaxing quality to it when I hear it.
Yeah, I'll get into that on the next album, but that is a good catch there. The loose, the like hanging behind the beat a little bit.
Exactly that. I think When We Get By is probably one of the jazziest things here, if not the jazziest, because I mean, aside from the soulful lyrics, you could just call that a jazz song.
Absolutely. And using, again, like there's this like great sax part in that song that this is at the end. And I kind of wish it was in the song more, but then I'm sure DAngelo is just like, no, I would sound too similar to someone else if, that's what we do. You bring in the sax. So he just kind of went
against a little dash of sax.
Yep.
Love it. Lady brings on some real dark stuff, real dark funk, giant heavy bass lines. It's like aggressively sensual, if that's even possible.
Yeah, outside of Untitled, which is on the next album, I think this is the closest he gets to a like quote unquote traditional R&B song. But even then, he like you said, he figures out a way to get those darker bass tones. He figures out a way to bring in some funk elements and just do what he does.
Yeah, and it closes with Higher, which is a lot more gospel. It's not the last time that he'll close it with a kind of gospel song.
But yeah, this is like probably the most like pure gospel song. Like he talks about spirituality, obviously, but this is like the most like on the nose, like direct gospel song.
Yeah. And it's nice. It's nice. And I found this to be just a straight up masterclass in songwriting performance, because it could take a thing that really don't give a fuck about R&B. I've never cared about it. You can do you could sing all the notes at me. I don't care. And I'm just like, oh, I want to hear it again, baby. Oh, this is so fun.
That warms my heart so much.
Hell yeah. Alex's Worsley's favorite, yes, but my personal favorite, and one that I'm excited to return to. But
man, I'm scared. I'm scared now that. All right.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the top, I'm keeping all these in my library. I like all of them. There's just one that I found myself enjoying less than the other two. That was like obvious. Like, okay, I know I don't like this one as much as the others. Okay. There it is.
Okay.
But, so this album did well when it was released.
Yes, it did.
According to this piece, it says in 1995, when DAngelo, or D, as he's known to his friends, released his platinum-selling debut album, Brown Sugar, he looked on first impression like the rappers of the time with his cornrows, baggy jeans, and Timberland boots. But when he played and sang, he instantly stood apart, a self-taught prodigy in touch with the ultimate muse. His groove harkened to something purer, and whether crooning or caterwauling, he performed with fervor like he was channeling the masters. A musician's musician, he played his own instruments, arranged and wrote his own songs. He was only 21 years old.
This is like the only album where he plays the majority of the songs. What's his name? We'll jump on there sometimes, but yeah, it's all DAngelo. Raquel Sadiq from Tony.
Oh wait, Raphael Sadiq.
Okay, I fucked that up so bad.
Maybe Sadiq. I don't know if I pronounced it last name.
No, you were right. Right when you said it, I was like, I fucking butchered.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, he'll
Charlie Ray Wiggins, his real name.
That's easier.
Much easier.
But he'll jump on a few tracks on this, but this is like all DAngelo playing everything. It's the only album
where he's playing almost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, we could hear him singing and doing all kinds of crazy R&B vocal stuff. The man is a hell of a bass player. A hell of a bass player. I mean, holy crap.
He is, and it's so crazy because from Voodoo out, he like the only like consistent guy he uses, where like imagine how good that guy has to be, where DAngelo's like, you're good enough, I'm gonna trust you to like, I can like direct you in a way and you'll just like nail it.
Yeah. Have you heard the live album, Live at the Jazz Cafe?
I have not, but I feel like I should.
I'm interested in that. I'm actually quite interested. I'm never interested in live albums, but I'm very interested in that because for one, it's this era. It's literally has the words Jazz Cafe in the title. I imagine it's going to be very relaxing. Yeah, it came out in 98. But what do you know, if anything, about the gap between Brown Sugar and the next album?
I know very little, except when I went to read the liner notes / like the version I had, there was like a reflection about the album about Voodoo, and the only thing they said about the gap was that he got distracted by weed and weightlifting. I'm sure there was more.
No, there was nothing else going on. It was purely that.
Well, also I know like another reason for the gap was him and Questlove like chasing like this sound was like their white whale. So that is a third reason. I'm sure there's other things, but
so from this point he gets in touch with Questlove. Check out episode on the Roots, by the way. That was a good while ago. And now there's a whole new can of worms. But now that we got Questlove in there, it's a whole new, so we might as well move on to it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hell yes. This is 2000's Voodoo. I think this is my favorite opener out of all the albums.
Yes, I would agree with that.
This is a lengthy song, by the way. It's like 7 minutes.
Everything's long on here.
Yeah, it takes its time. This is a long album. We'll talk about it, but it takes its time.
Part of the reason it's long is very rarely do the BPMs go over 100 on this album.
It's very slow, a lot of slow songs. Yeah.
And then yeah, that J Dilla like time feel that this is goose shit for how loose it is. I mean that in a good way.
The way those bass notes just sort of come right after you think they're gonna come. It's so loose.
And yeah, I love the kick drum choices just.
And the vocals sound off rhythm because they're hanging behind the beat, really. And that's kind of like a thing that we're gonna hear for a while. Just like really like, almost like someone has a leash on his voice and is holding it back just a little bit. Also, this is a very, very different style. It's heavily, tons of vocal harmonies and overdubs.
Yeah, his voice is like different. And it made me think of how you like rappers using their voice like percussion. He's like an R&B singer who kind of does that.
Ooh.
Shout out
those horns. Fuck those horns, man.
Shout out to Pino Palladino, his like bass player on the next two albums.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is the best. This is
Worsley's
the best.
favorite.
You're so wrong. You're gonna regret that in like 6 months. You're gonna regret that in 6 months.
It's possible. It's possible. And I still think this is a great album. It has some of my favorite, I think maybe my favorite D'Angelo songs ever are on this album. I
Also,
think it
comment section, leave Mike alone. He doesn't know what he did right now. Just leave him.
Go ahead. Go. I don't care.
Leave him alone.
So there's a few reasons why this just didn't grab me as much, or where I think the other albums did it differently and more interesting to me. One is, I'll get the giant elephant out of the room, elephant in the room out of the way. I don't love Untitled. I get it. It's not for me. It's very, very, very sexual R&B. It's just, even though it is a good song, I get it. I'm not gonna like put that on. Like, I'm not gonna be in the mood for D'Angelo and then choose that song. It just didn't grab me. I found it to be hilariously sexual. I mean, hilariously sexual. It is a good song though, but hilariously sexual.
Hey, Mike, how does it feel to be wrong? Sorry.
Probably how you felt during Flipper, I guess.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't really have any problems with any songs. The only other song I don't like that I can confidently say I don't really like is Chicken Grease.
There's only like one song that's weak on here, and I hate to say, I just hate to say anything bad about D'Angelo.
Which song is that?
The song I don't care for is One Mo Gin.
That's my favorite song on the album. If I had to pick one favorite, I would probably go with that one. I love it. I love that song.
I mean, this is like a flawless album. I feel so like you will see it on the greatest albums ever list, deservingly so. I put it off for so long because there's a shirtless man on the cover. Why do I want to listen to that?
The cover for the first two were a little rough.
Once I grew up and got over stupid insecurities, one day, I don't even know what it was, probably because I eventually was listening to The Roots. I was listening to Common. I got into J Dilla. So yeah, let me see what the fuss is about. And I was like, I'm so stupid. It was so stupid for taking so long. To this day, I'm so stupid about this album that I almost fucked up and listened to it on iTunes. And the spirit of D'Angelo came in me and said,
came in, yeah.
He did. He lyrically, he came in my ears and he said, "You're listening to this on vinyl. What are you doing?" And I don't even know what compelled me. And I was just listening to it on vinyl, having such a fucking great time with it. I was like, what is wrong with me that I haven't learned my lesson, that I was going to listen to this on the computer when I'm at home? But it's just, the album is fucking voodoo. It's just so crazy. Another reason I wanted to talk about D'Angelo is because I'm in the middle or near the end of a book about J Dilla called Dilla Time. And the J Dilla influence on this album is just so crazy. It's so crazy he's not credited for anything like that.
Is he really not?
No, and like that time fill that you're talking about is that Dilla time, that elusive, loose, like it's on beat, but it's not consistent. And it was just like D'Angelo and Questlove talking to Dilla, trying to get this feel down. And also it was also D'Angelo and Questlove like deprogramming themselves, growing up where like you're a hip hop drummer, you got to be a metronome, you got to be a machine, or you do R&B, it's got to be smooth, it's got to be like mechanical, like. And so like Questlove has said this is like his doctrine. This is like when he graduated into like more elevated forms of music. And it definitely takes a few listens to like really have this like sink in. And just the choice also in the late 90s to be like, we're using a band, we're going to make this sound real and like stay away from like apparently at the time, because it was recorded at Electric Ladyland, a lot of people weren't using Electric Ladyland to record. And so like they would go and take like the sheets or whatever off and like dust off these like the Rhodes pianos is such a huge factor in this album. And it's just like, man, it like Voodoo is just the perfect name for this album.
Well said. And here's why I think it stinks. I'm kidding. It is. I think it's a great album. But I happen to enjoy it. And the thing is, it kind of came down to like little tiny nitpicking things, because that's just what we do when we have to pick a worst. The length got to me, because if I'm noticing songs that are good songs, but I notice them as not being a fucking juggernaut of a song that's so, like, say you don't like One More Gin, but I'm going to use that as an example of a song that I think is a fucking juggernaut. Like hell yes. I think I hear a song perfect example is The Root, which is a very good song. It's got snappy piccolo snare and really smooth jazzy guitars, and it has like The Wind Cries Mary sounding guitars, and it's got these nice reverse guitars around halfway. It's a good movie. It's a good song, but comparing it to what I feel is like a smack you in the face amazing song, I notice it more. I don't. It's hard to look at it as like a one perfect stream of like when we look at albums, we think of like the consistency, the pacing. So even though it's a great song, it's noticeably weaker than this other song that's too good for its own good. And then you throw in a couple things like Chicken Grease and Untitled, which I'm not a fan of, and it's just like, okay, well, I noticed these things, whereas I didn't notice it on the other albums, therefore worst. That's the game we play.
I've been biting my tongue because I love The Root so much. That is
we just have alternating takes on every song.
That is one of my favorite songs on the album. I love it so much. That guitar thing just gets stuck in my head all the fucking time. The like most people want to make babies to, Untitled. I want to do it to The Root. I want her to work my root. And and then this year I stumbled across the guitar / bass player on this song, Charlie Hunter, talking about it. Homeboy is such a workhorse. He didn't even realize what he recorded here. Like, he had no idea the like heights this album went to. And like until like maybe like 10 years later or something. And like he's so crazy. He's like playing this like 8-string guitar bass combo thing. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. That guitar line, like even before I saw that video, it always got stuck in my head. And it was just like such a cool story to hear about the song. And that's why Mike's wrong.
So fine, I will use that exact same argument. Replace The Root with "Feel Like Making Love," because that's kind of how I feel about that. Where it's it's a good song. It's a fine song, but it's not. I've already seen the highs of Mount Olympus. That's not doing it for me as much as some other songs on this same album.
You know what? I will give you that song because that is a cover song. He makes it his own.
Yes, he does.
But originally. And another reason this album took so long to come out was that was supposed to be a duet with Lauryn Hill, but Lauryn Hill is gonna Lauryn Hill.
Got pregnant and backed out, right? Sorry, I just talked over you.
But she backed out.
Always does.
Yeah, so that does kind of feel like a holdover, but I like it.
So that's because with an album that's an hour and 20 minutes, those moments stand out to me as like, if that wasn't there, this would be perfect. This would be like flawless for me. Like, despite the fact that I still think this is amazing and I can see why people love it, I noticed too many things. If I didn't notice them, then it would that's kind of just what it comes down to. How much did I notice? Also another thing that I noticed that I don't think I wouldn't call it a bad thing. I call it just an interesting thing because each album has its own overall character. The first one has like the jazziness. The one after this we'll get to it, but this one is like the hip hop R&B album whereas there wasn't a lot of hip hop on the previous and not a lot on the one after this. We have a bona fide hip hop song with fucking Method and Red on Left and Right.
Hell yeah.
The only one in his discography at this point.
Funny story about that song. So we did the Tribe Connection, and all these people are, call themselves the Soulquarians, Erykah Badu, Common, DAngelo, The Roots, Most Def, Collab, J Dilla. Yeah. So Q-Tip was
That's right, Q-Tip.
Q-Tip was supposed to be the rapper part on that, and Questlove was he said the vibe wasn't right, so he got the axe.
Questlove decided Q-Tip.
It wasn't
just fucking Q-Tip.
It wasn't just Questlove. It was like throughout. They were just like, you don't fit.
Q-Tip didn't make the cut. That's insane. That's insane.
To be fair, like, obviously we love Tribe, but also there is this something like we've talked about how DAngelo kind of uses these dark and gritty elements. So there's just something appropriate about just bringing on Method and Redman just for
the dirtiest dudes.
Oh yeah. I mean, unless I'm guessing Old Dirty Bastard. No, that would be distracting.
That would be way distracting.
But it's just like, yeah, now it's one of those things where like I can't imagine anyone but Method and Red doing it.
It does sound very good. And especially interesting is that it's so obviously not produced like a standard hip hop track because the vocals are buried. The rapping is buried. You do not hear that very often.
This was recorded and produced like a rock album or like an old school like funk and soul album. Every choice was like made to like get away from the times.
And it's such a smart thing to do because the Times of early 2000s is known for just some of the most dated bad decisions, especially production wise. Maybe like one of the best examples of bad modern production. And this feels timeless. It sounds wonderful. It has that looseness to it. It has that liveliness to it. You feel how the live drums are as perfect as you can want live drums in this type of music because it has that feel.
I forgot to say all the instruments were recorded live. So
wonderful. And they do sound really, there's like on Spanish Joint, which I find to be, it's one of the more novel songs here. It's got hand drums and it does feel very novel. And it's like, we're going to do the Spanish song, but it's nutty. Like the performances are crazy good.
I think if the performances weren't so good, it would fall into that novel territory.
Yes, exactly.
Because the performances are amazing and because it is like the fastest song on the album, I think it's great because I think on those initial listens, it is easy to get stuck in like this down tempo. Like, is every song the same? I do understand where you're coming from on the first initial listens.
So yeah, for first initial listens, that's kind of where I'm coming from, which it's easier to kind of like play. I wouldn't even say play it safe because playing it safe would be like, yeah, this is the least grabbing on 2 listens. But one thing that I didn't catch early on and I didn't note is that more than the other 2 albums, this is the most vibey of them all. This is the one you could have it in the background with the most benefit to the album. And because it's so long, you kind of have to sit with it like it's going to be on for a while. So what I mean by that is songs like Medley, Great Day in the Morning, Booty, mouthful of a song title.
Yes.
But it has this kind of ugly bass line. It's like ugly for R&B standards. A very strange kind of ugly bass line, but it keeps going and going. And by the time you're already like 6 minutes into it, it's like, this is actually very cool. This is very good. I ended up loving the song. These are things that you have to sit with for a long time, even with Untitled, which it's not my bag, but even if it's on, it's nice. It's nice in the background. These require a lot more like relaxing, less like taking notes with a notepad and focusing.
Although
Whereas
I
other
would,
stuff is, go ahead.
although I will say once you like get past a few listens, I think there's a lot to be gained from sitting down with the notepad and
Probably. The thing is, what I said earlier about some songs standing out so much, like one of those for me is Send It On, which is, it's classic soul R&B ballad perfection. It's like, it's when you think of like the songs that you want to sit and drive to when you're feeling like sad over a breakup or something, like it's that kind of song. It's just gorgeous, and it just wrecks me. And then following that with Chicken Grease, I'm like, god damn it. So that's the kind of like the jumps that I couldn't help but notice.
to me it's like it's more like an ebb and flow thing where yeah, it Send It On is like, it's almost like this is a stretch, but it is almost like stoner metal where it's like you're gonna do the one thing and you're gonna play it and like Send It On, man, there's this beautiful guitar flourishes on that song. And like my favorite part of the song isn't even like a long section. I love when it gets really loud for a few seconds and then it just like I don't know, they do these little things and these flourishes that leave such an impression on me the way other albums don't.
Yeah, I know exactly what I think it's around halfway through. It's just powerful and sensual. That's the only way I can put it. It's wonderful. And a lot of these songs do that. And it does end, it is very, very long, but it's not so long when you settle into that mood. And that's kind of how I felt about it. Like there's a point with long albums where you're like, okay, wrap it up already. I don't necessarily have it with this because the last chunk, it's so strong. Like, it closes with Africa, which is another relatively novel song. It's damn near experimental, very percussive, very twinkly, a lot of twinkly textures and music boxes. And it's just dreamy, and it's nice in a way that no other song does it on here. So it does leave you with like a nice taste at the end.
I agree with you absolutely with what you said about Africa. I think it's one of the more like creative funk and soul songs I've heard. It's in a way kind of channeling Stevie Wonder a little bit, but then the way it's executed just makes it so unique and even different amongst the like 80-minute album. One of the like funniest songs on here, and I love it so much, and not funny in the way like what was the cussing song? Shit damn motherfucker.
Yeah.
The line.
Oh yeah.
Because some of the lyrics on here, like, I don't want to say they're inconsequential, but like on Chicken Grease, it is very much like an old, like James Brown or like old hip hop song where it's kind of like a call response, telling the audience what to do. And then like the line, for those familiar with Walk Hard, does the thing where he's like, I'm gonna hold, like, what are you gonna hold? What are you gonna hold? Onto his pride. And then he's gonna stick. What's he gonna stick? What are you gonna stick?
Okay.
Gonna stick to his guns. And then he wants to put it. Where do you want to put it? He's gonna put it on the line. And
put
like,
on the line.
And yeah, the way he like holds off, and it's just but it's funny because the lyrics are like serious about someone like holding like onto their values and but he does it in like a comedic way where you think he's gonna say something dirty, but it's actually
It's funny. I didn't even catch that. The main thing that I got from that were like the am I remembering Al Green style vocals with like the very fast cadence where he dips in and out between falsetto and his chest voice.
You might be right, or maybe like a Marvin Gaye.
Maybe Marvin Gaye. Yeah, I get the two mixed up because I'm really fucking green when it comes to funk and soul.
Pun intended.
Yeah, but that was the song where I kind of hit me like, oh, these are long hypnotic songs that you kind of just gotta melt into. it doesn't really, not as much immediate gratification. But this thing, even with a song like Chicken Grease, which I keep shitting on because it's my least favorite song on the album, on another album, I would like it. It's a perfect example of like, oh, you just put it in between two songs that I adore, and therefore I have to like think less of it just because it is a very strange song. It's very funky, very fast, one of the faster songs. It's got good energy, but it's not quite as catchy. There's not as much to grab onto. Not like very minimal bass lines.
That's the other thing. There is like despite how rich and dense these songs are, there is, well, especially at the time, like a minimalist approach. Even like Playa, where it's like, okay, we're going to like build on this, and we talk about that with like rock musicians all the time, how they are a band like Godspeed, you know, we're going to introduce this one thing and we're going to play it for a while, and then we're going to introduce the second, and you get that on this album.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, this is not too many songs we haven't talked about other than like Devil's Pie, which, yeah, I mean, it rules. It's great. It's great follow-up, driving fast.
Stand-up bass is fucked up in a good way. Like, I love it. I love that weird, like, escalating instrument effect. I don't know what it is. And then, yeah, I think it's like the only song ever with like DJ scratches on it. And it...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it just segues perfect. Like, it's almost like cueing you, like if you weren't looking at the track listing, you were this like just listening to it. It like kind of cues you in, like, hey, Method and Red are like around the corner here.
That's right, because they really do bleed into each other like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It is my worst and least favorite, and that is, of course, disagreeing with the whole world. But it's just because the fucking albums are so damn good, baby. You got to pick one that you happen to like the least, and I happen to like this one the least.
This album is so strong that I am confident you will regret that eventually. I can't say when, because you know we have this podcast that consumes a lot, but like I am confident you will regret that choice.
Maybe I will. I will, and then I have no problem walking back my opinions. We've been meaning to do update videos on old episodes because our opinions change, and that's just the way it goes. But as of 2 listens, which is what we do for the pod, as of 2 listens, this is my worst and least favorite.
But you know what? You walked out look, people. I made him a fan. That's the important message here. And he did say all 3 were good. So like
all 3, I mean,
it's a splitting hairs. It's a splitting hairs.
It really is. But Alex's best and personal favorite, and
no, just best.
Just best.
Yes.
And that's just the way it goes, baby. This is what we do, and this is why we have fun. Okay.
Yes.
But this is where shit gets dark. Very, very dark.
Enlighten me. Or darken me.
So this album does very well. Untitled blows up, and he becomes the man you want to have sex with, regardless of if you're a man or a woman. You just
Gender,
want to have
sexual orientation. He
doesn't matter.
He transcends it.
You just want to fuck him. That's what you want to do.
You watch the Untitled video, and you're just like, I want to do it. I want to stick it to my guts.
Dude, I didn't watch the video. It's funny. I was listening to the song, and then I played the video preview of the video. So I was watching the video out of sync with the song. I'm like, man, this is fucking practically porn.
I remember being a kid and like staying home, like sick days at home, and like it's kind of rough when you're a kid, like it's like, am I gonna watch like old sitcoms, or like you can watch MTV for a little bit, but then you start noticing they have like a loop after a while. It's the same shit. And then like I would just like throw on MTV and like what is this video? Who is asking to see like this like instant channel changer? For a 12-year-old me. For a 12-year-old me. Yeah.
I would say the fucking 99%, 98% of
the world, it's the
boys.
opposite.
for preteen boys, it's like, no, I'm already barely getting hormones. I don't know what I'm feeling right now. I'm not going to look at this naked man singing at me and licking his lips.
Yeah. You can't deal with those thoughts at that age.
Absolutely not. fuck you up. But things did get pretty fucked up. So from this piece, it says the massive weight gain didn't make Michael D'Angelo Archer see the darkness that was looming. Neither did the hermit-like isolation, the shattered friendships, the years wasted without a new record in sight, or even the car accident that nearly killed him.
Ooh.
Gnarly. It says by the time he careened off a lonely stretch of road near Richmond, Virginia in September 2005, hitting a fence and rolling his Hummer 3 times, he'd already failed 2 stints in rehab, including one where his counselor was Bob Forrest, the guy in Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. I believe Bob Forrest was in a band called The Thelonious Monster. I can't stand this guy because of the way he talks and the way he looks. I'm sure he's helped a lot of people. His presence annoys the fuck out of me.
I don't think doctors should be celebrities.
I love Dr. Drew. I don't mind Dr. Drew. Bob Forrest is on my shit list though.
I think they're all con artists at this point. They're all con artists.
Well, I don't think Bob Forrest is a con artist. I think he's just a little. I mean, the reason why I don't like him is because he has fucking red hair and he wears Stevie Ray Vaughan hats all the time. I mean, go fuck yourself.
To be fair, D'Angelo also dresses like that.
Yeah, but guess what? He's also sexy too. He's not some fucking ginger fuck.
That's true. He can wear anything really.
He can also get fat and still be like sexual. So
hell yeah.
Maybe Thelonious Monster is a good band. And I'll take back what I said about Bob Forrest. But for now, his voice annoys me. Anyway, this goes on to say Bob had been cool, D'Angelo says, but his message of sobriety didn't take. Cool. I went in under a fake name so people wouldn't know who I was, right? D'Angelo tells me. In his first sit-down interview in 12 years. So, Michael never got treatment. It was this other character that was in there. And the moment I left, I went straight to the fucking liquor store.
Ooh, that is like a very like D'Angelo thing to do. Like he did like method acting for rehab.
If you're a real struggling addict and you have a real problem, then you pull shit like that where you trick yourself into not being yourself so that you don't have to follow the rules that someone set for that version. It's dark shit, man. God damn. Goes on to say, which helps explain why months later, high on cocaine and drunk off his ass, D'Angelo found himself ejected from his car on that balmy Virginia night, hurtling through the pitch blackness, flying. When he hit the ground, he broke all the ribs on his left side and dealt another blow to his, I think it's supposed to say floundering career.
Much in like the spirit of like those Chuck Norris facts, D'Angelo can't have a floundering career. He can't. I get what they're implying.
Well, I think foundering is a different. I think foundering means like filling with water or something like that.
Okay,
I think they're being
kind of like treading water. Maybe. Okay. Yeah.
Listen, we've established we don't got words on this podcast. We don't fuck around with words. All right. So foundering and shit. Continuing. Once he'd been the heir apparent to the giants of soul, Marvin, Stevie, Prince. And this quote drives me fucking crazy. The rock critic Robert Christgau was so transported by D'Angelo's live show that he called him R&B Jesus. I hate Robert Christgau. I can't stand that fucking guy. He's one of the perfect examples of like a pretentious, full of shit music critic. I can't he's right on this matter, sure, but I can't stand him generally.
It's not the first time he's pissed you off. It's not the last time he's pissed you off.
Nope.
But he is 10,100% right.
In this case, yes. Continuing, it says, but shortly after the wreck, discussions ended with several top music executives, including Clive Davis at J Records, who'd been considering signing him to a $3 million contract. Then D'Angelo's manager told him he was done with him too. Ooh. Everyone jumped ship.
Man, I didn't realize how close we were to like losing an angel, really.
Indeed. Yeah, it was real. And it doesn't really get better for a while. It goes on to say, I didn't really think I had a problem like that, he says, taking a hit off of Newport. I felt like, all I got to do is clean up and I'll be fine. Just get in the studio and I'll be fucking fine. And this says a lot. It says, what finally made him see, he says, was the passing of J Dilla, the revered hip-hop producer, on February 10th, 2006. They just talked on the phone, D'Angelo says, when suddenly J Dilla was gone at 32 after a long battle with lupus.
Yeah, that's, again, the power of Dilla. Like, he like Voodoo is not the same album if J Dilla is not in this world. And like reading this book and like realizing like how innovative and how genius he was, and I'm probably gonna cry when they get to the part where he dies. Like it's, I don't know, just much like DAngelo, just like him, those two and Questlove, like the three of them, for all three of them to have like their brains for like be on the same wavelength and like all interact and know each other is just like so crazy.
Yeah, it certainly was fruitful, to say the least. And he said about it, says it was like a blinding light had been switched on. Why did so many black artists die so young? He'd been haunted by this thought for years. Marvin, Jimmy, Biggie. 2 out of 3 of those we have episodes on. I felt like I was going to be next. I ain't bullshitting. I was scared then, he says, recalling how shame engulfed him, preventing him from attending the funeral. I was so fucked up I couldn't go. Oh.
That is, I think that's the saddest thing so far.
Yeah, when for some reason, the only like the quickest association I have of like being so fucked up over a death that you skip the funeral is David Spade not going to Chris Farley's funeral. Like,
yeah.
You hold on to that one. If you miss that, you hold on to that one.
Yeah. And but it's just like one of those things where I don't know, like who's anyone to tell anyone how to grieve if like just as long as you're not outright like overtly harmful to yourself or others, like who's anyone to say like you can't grieve like that?
I would say, and I would use this as a general rule for almost most things. If you're doing it out of fear, that's the wrong move. So deal with that what you will.
I do get what you're saying, because there have been like instances where I didn't want to do something and I didn't have the words for it, but like when you said it, I realized it was because of fear. Like,
yeah, and it could be fear is a very, very cunning motherfucker. It'll disguise itself as anger. It'll disguise itself as all sorts of shit to trick you into thinking it's not fear, but it is. But after this, around 2007, DAngelo went to rehab and then signed with RCA. And referencing J Dilla, it says, everyone around him knows about D time, a pace so slow that I could test even the most patient saint. Over the next few years, there were creative stops and starts. There were also setbacks. I'm pretty sure they're talking about DAngelo, not J Dilla, but you were talking about D time, were you not?
Dilla time, yeah.
So what is it? Are they talking about Dilla time there or DAngelo time? That's confusing me now.
I think they are. It's funny because they both function the same way. Like there's stories where like Common was one of the guys who like realized how like brilliant J Dilla was, probably even before like he knew. And he also like functioned on like that same thing where people would get frustrated because like it was weird. He had work ethic, like where he had his routine, but also sometimes it would just take a while, or like at night he's got to go to the strip clubs, and that like upset some people. But like Common was one of the few people like early on who like realized like he's like, that's just this guy's process. I'm not going to say anything. And I know at the end when he gives me a beat, it's going to be phenomenal. And I'm not even going to think about like, oh, this guy left me hanging in a hotel lobby so he could go to a strip club. Like, so it ironically may be like how they both functioned.
Maybe. I mean, that's well, on the topic of having your fun on the side, it leads to a little bit more trouble with DAngelo. It says on March 6, 2010, D was arrested and charged with solicitation after offering a female undercover police officer $40 for a blowjob in Manhattan's West Village.
First of all, that sounds, well, these days, that sounds like
not a lot.
Not a lot.
No, it's not a lot.
And second of all, sex workers. I thought DAngelo gets this stuff for free. I thought it was just like like a certain restaurant, someone walks in, hey, it's fucking Big
Yeah,
Vito.
we have a table right for yeah.
Yeah. Like I would think DAngelo's like that for like, girl, that's DAngelo. You just give it to him.
I bet the girl wasn't familiar with his work. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
It was a cop, right? Undercover.
That's true. So it actually didn't even matter.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good point. Didn't he? Yeah. He would have got it for free. All right. It just happened to be a cop that time.
That's how he should have known when she was asking for money. He's like, wait a second. Do you know who I am?
This was just a formality. I wasn't actually going to give you any money.
He's like, pay for, like, it's almost like a weird language to him. He can't even.
It's the meme with the equations going over his face. Goes on to say he reportedly had $12,000 in cash in his Range Rover. Asked to explain, he says, it was just me making a stupid decision, a wrong turn on the wrong night. He adds, I'm not the role model, motherfucker. Look at all the shit I've been in. Fair enough. Man
just wanted some head. There's so many awful people in the world these days, like fucking DAngelo all day.
And this talks a little bit about him and Questlove. It says Questlove and D were back in touch now, but the drummer admits he kept DAngelo at arm's length. For a while, it seemed they'd only talk after someone died. Michael Jackson's passing had them on the phone in 2009. Then in 2011, just hours after Questlove missed a call from Amy Winehouse on Skype, she too exited the stage. Dee's the first person I called, Questlove recalls, and I was just honest, like, look, man, I'm sorry. I know you're thinking I'm avoiding you like the plague. I just said plain and simple, man, there was a period in which it seemed like you were hell-bent on following the footsteps of our idols, and the one thing you have yet to follow them in was death. He told Dee that if he'd gotten that news, it would have destroyed him. That was probably the most emotional man-to-man talk that Dee and I ever had. And then we get the next album.
I'm glad that talk happened.
Indeed. 4 years later on RCA, we got, now it's not just DAngelo, now it's DAngelo and the Vanguard. So is that just like his band? It's just what he goes by now? I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either because Pino Palladino is back on bass. We got Questlove back on drums.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know why it's the Vanguard.
There's like no explanation for it either. It's
yeah. At the time, I thought maybe it was this band he found and wanted to work with. But then
that's what I thought
was
too.
Like reading the credits, and I'm just like, oh, it's whatever. It sounds cool. It sounds cool as fuck.
Fuck it. So here we go. This is 2014's. I was going to say the Vanguard, Black Messiah.
You know what? This is a fucking cool intro too.
Yes. Really wasn't expecting anything about this.
I kind of like undercut it, the like psychedelic properties of Voodoo, this because there's so much to talk about, but
yeah,
they do come out in this album too.
Yes.
How weird his vocals sound here.
What the fuck is happening? It's like it's like an alien choir singing off rhythm, but sort of on rhythm.
Also that like cadence and tone is like off in a great way.
Yeah. Beautiful bass lines too. Fantastic bass lines. It's both weird as shit and cool as shit. Like,
and now we're like in like more traditional.
Yeah, but it still has this strangeness to it. In this production. Yeah, it's the most psychedelic, cosmic, space sounding production. Weird UFO production. It's so strange. It's such a weird opener. Out of the way. Just get it out of the way.
Personal favorite.
Best. Okay. And so like this is I knew there was going to be a big evolution. Just
Mhm.
looking at I could just tell. I wasn't expecting. This is fucking nuts. This is a very strange album.
I
It's wonderful.
I may be wrong. I think this was like a surprise album drop.
Oh, it was released earlier because of something. One of the sad Ferguson things. I forget his name.
Yeah, all the cops killing black folks, whether it's like Trayvon Martin or
Whatever the Ferguson was, and Eric Garner.
yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, he was supposed to be released in 2015. That happened. He dropped it earlier.
Yes. So I think I don't know if it came out earlier in the day or if it was like right at midnight. It came out, but I remember just like being in bed and like and hearing about it when I heard about it and being in bed. I was about to go to bed and I was like, no, not anymore. We're listening to DAngelo and just like hearing that for the like I wasn't like die hard. I wasn't like listening to Voodoo for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 at that point, maybe a little longer, but like I don't know. It was just like should I be hearing this right? Like is this from like an alternate timeline? It was so overpowering and surreal and like just a rare instance I had listening to new music as an adult where I just felt completely transported like immediately.
Plus musically, it's fucking nuts. Like
It's
where I said earlier about the first album being like the jazz soulful album, the second album having more hip hop and R&B. This one, it's like prog funk.
It is like prog. It's obviously like a very dark album too. Like Ain't That Easy was like it was weird, but it also it was like, well, there was enough there that I knew it was DAngelo. And then like 1,000 Deaths comes on and I am
insane.
Just like floored. Like I don't think there's anything in like funk and soul that sounds like this 1,000's. It's dirty, it's also for DAngelo, it's fast. Like the Vanguard goes absolutely ham on that song.
It is a nutty song. It's a song that I appreciate a million times more than I enjoy because it is very abrasive. Like there's no real hooks at all. It's just like this gritty, brutal, like stuttering, just constant distorted vocals and everything.
Yeah.
It's his most abrasive song by far. And it's but it's also too interesting to be like to get bored because it is 6 minutes. It's a lengthy song, but it's like I don't know. It's like a test because it's stuttery and it's distorted and it's harsh and there's no real catchiness to it, but it does got great movement and the performances are still really wild and good. So it's like, why are you listening to me? It's kind of like you have to sit through this to get to the rest. Cause like, do you actually appreciate what I'm doing? Because with a song like that, that'll weed out a lot of motherfuckers.
Yeah. You compared it to prog music earlier. And I think this is like the most prog track hands down in the like instrumentation of it.
Yeah. Cause like if you listen to the drums, like even when they're doing something pretty steady, there is other shit on top of them that's disrupting what you would normally be a straightforward beat. So it gives you this I don't know, auditory image of stuttering where it feels like it's like something's fucking up over and over again, but it's doing it the entire time. So you kind of like have to like train your brain to look past it. It's a difficult ass song. That's for sure.
For sure. After that we have the Charade. I just love Questlove's playing on that song so much. It's just so cool, so unique. The lyrics just really like hammer home the like times this was recorded in when he says all we wanted was a chance to talk, so we got outlined in chalk. Like this is his like most political, like conscious album by 10 miles.
The Charade, it's like an indie soul song. I was not expecting that rhythm. It's driving and upbeat. So it's faster. It's a little faster. And
this is definitely the album with like the most unique rhythms.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Just where on the Voodoo, a lot of the rhythm, we get these, like you said, super slow, just boom, like super duper slow.
It's all about the space on that one.
Yeah.
And these are like
all over. These are multiple genre hopping almost. A lot of genre, mostly genre blending, but some moments where they're like, all right, we're just going to do something completely fucking different. We're like on, what's the name of it? Spanish Joint on Voodoo is like, oh, that's a novel song. That's the Spanish song. It's a novel thing. But because it's executed so crazy and so well that it doesn't feel quite as novel. It feels a little bit more authentic. That's a lot of songs on here. Like perfect example. I can give several perfect examples, but the one that I think of immediately is The Door, where it's like acoustic guitars and whistles, and it's got a southern twang on there.
It's so unexpected. It's so unexpected.
Completely. But it's super catchy. It's really nice. It feels like it should be a novelty song, but it has so much character that it ends up holding up. And then so I have that impression. It's completely set in concrete by Back to the Future Part 2, because it's The Door, but played with funk instruments instead of acoustic ones, and it's fucking better. It just shows how good the songwriting is, where they're playing it in this really particular way with these particular instruments to make it feel this way, but the composition is sound. You could play it with all these other instruments and it'll be just as good, if not better.
I also like this almost like weird, like cosmic choice to have Back to the Future Part 1 before all that. Like in the middle of the album, and it's pretty much like his musical philosophy. He's like pulling from the past to shape the future, but not in a regressive way. And then like I didn't even notice until you said it that The Door had like similarities, because then Back to the Future 2, this kind of feels like you're like picking right back up where Part 1 left off. It is more jammy than Part 1 for sure.
For the second half of Back to the Future Part 2, you said it goes very jammy. That whole final chunk, it's so funky. It rules so hard. It's not, I wouldn't call it proggy, but it does have like this depth to it that, I'm not like super big into funk at all, but there's just something about the way the whole thing is arranged. It's so dense. And Back to the Future Part 1 is another favorite where, man, it's like, it's got this steady staccato bass line with these like Asian sounding plucks. I'm not sure exactly what they are. And then the fucking strings on there, they're so subtle, and they only come in every once in a while, but they are absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely little song. I don't even know how else to put it.
There's so much lovely. That seems like a good segue into Really Love.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
Look, baby, we're going to protest on some of this album, but we're going to get right back to fucking 2.
Oh, and it's dark and I think it's like the most dramatic thing he's ever done.
Man, I love that woman's voice to like open up, and like I love that I know he only has like 3 albums, but he's taken like the token Latin song and he's got to do one. And this, like, I love Spanish music, but this is like such a clear evolution from that. And it's one of the sexiest songs ever. And those strings just fucking elevate it through the roof.
Really Love makes Spanish Joint look like a bitch, honestly. Like, the way that, so it's the intro is just these dark ass strings, and the way the strings are produced it's so wonderful. It sounds so intimate, and it's very live sounding. It's a real string section, and then you get the flamenco guitars, and yeah, again, it doesn't have novelty written on it. It just feels so it's pulled off with such sincerity, and they didn't hold anything back. They didn't phone anything in. They didn't like, oh well, it'll be just fine if we do some synths here instead. No, they got every fucking they did it right, and
it sounds so good.
It sounds so good. And then the same thing in practice, but opposite in the execution is Sugar Daddy, which is, yeah, they went super hard with all the instruments. They went as authentic as you can get using, it sounds like someone slapping their fucking cheeks as an instrument, but it's but it's a complete opposite result of super duper happy, lightens the mood, a metric fuck ton. It's has quirky pianos and it's closed snappy drums. It's like, it's the different, the polar opposite emotional result from the same intensity arrangement and performance wise.
I did not realize how funny Sugar Daddy was until listening to this. And yeah, like you called it like cheek slapping or hand clapping. I don't know. It may just be some like electronic thing, but yeah, that like clapping thing with the piano is so infectious in the beginning. And then like, I've never like sat down and looked at the lyrics. They're so fucking funny.
Oh boy.
He says you can't snatch the meat out of the lioness's mouth. He says, I fill my baby's crib up with all the sweetness, daddy. And then the like the funniest thing, which is like straight out of like the 2 Live Crew playbook. He says, I hit it so hard, I made the pussy fart. And once you hear that lyric, you will notice there is like instruments or instrumentation that sounds like farting, like not like overtly farting, like flatulence. Like it sounds amazing, but like once you hear that lyric, you'll like hear the like, oh yeah, these do kind of sound like farts.
That's fucking great.
And only he could do this. Only he could do this. And no one is going to listen to that song. If you're not paying attention to the lyrics, they're not going to be like, oh, that sounds like farts.
No, didn't catch that at all.
This man's singing about making a woman queef. He like
didn't catch it. No, exactly. It's such a fun and silly song too. It's like it's one of his silliest songs. Period. It has that lightness to it, but I didn't hear it. I didn't catch any fucking queefing tubas or anything.
Because it's not it's very much like that, like hand slapping or the cheek slapping, whatever. It's like that, where it's like this noise and you can kind of like say it sounds like this, but anyways, it is like also you can kind of tell like he was in 2 different mind frames because Sugar Daddy was like one of the earliest songs he recorded for this album, maybe like way back in like 2008 even.
That makes sense. It sounds very different from the rest of the album. And
then you see, like hear when he's getting more like politically minded, talking about issues. But it works phenomenally. I think, you know, he could do anything he wants. He could have pulled off a dark protest album, but I think having songs like Sugar Daddy just, I don't know, it helps the ebb and flow of the album.
Yeah, it keeps it pretty diverse. I mean, this is there's so much variety here. But some other favorites are Till It's Done, Tutu.
Hell yeah, that is
so good.
His trippiest song ever. It's just like the lyrics, the music, it's all trippy, just singing about like human existence. I love it so much.
It's like space funk. I mean, that intro,
it is.
It doesn't get any dreamier spacey than that on the intro. I mean, it's so many good textures there. And then the main hook to Prayer is so great. I mean, odd rhythm. It's like the rhythm of it just like it hiccups. It has this thing where it's like it never loses time, but it hiccups a little bit where it feels like you just tripped on a sidewalk crack or something. Like that's what it feels like.
It is one of the darker sounding songs on the album too, and it's just like, I think in a way where like new listeners would get like fatigued with Voodoo's runtime, like this is just kind of so crazy where it's like you don't want it to stop.
Yeah, there's so much good on here, and what I said about the variety. So we have stuff like I mentioned, The Door, where it's this kind of campfire southern twang acoustic guitars. Then you got the fucking Sugar Daddy, this over the top silly thing, and then you got the flamenco song, and then we get Betray My Heart, which is he hasn't gone that hard into jazz since the debut, and it's the most jazzy thing ever. I mean, it rules. I fucking love it.
It's more upbeat too. And then this like the start stop. You said like hiccup to describe Prayer, but this also has like that like hiccup like start stop thing to it, and not like hard stops, but like the instrumentation will just like play like a riff or something, and it stops and the music's still going, and then they pick it back up again.
It's very fast. And yeah, like you're saying, rhythmically super snappy. And I mean, just the bass line, the way it walks is so nice. It's, again, like many others, novel on paper, but in execution, it's just a beautiful ass jazzy song. Ends up being one of my favorites of his period. It closes with Another Life, which is the other big gospel song.
Very psychedelic sounding too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe there's some sitar in there that he plays.
Well, I don't know. I want to look at the liner notes, because on Wikipedia it says Pino does the electric sitar.
Well, it says it under his name as well. It says it under both of them.
Okay.
So maybe,
I don't
maybe
know
it's
who
both.
did.
Yeah. Who knows? But either way, it's there.
Yes.
And yeah, psychedelic, but with heavy gospel influence. And it's I would the most ethereal gospel song I've ever heard. Perhaps I would say definitely, actually.
Most def. And then I like it a hell of a lot better than Higher. So yeah. I mean, it's not even really fair to compare the two, but I'm just doing it because they're the most gospel in nature,
and they are both closers. But yeah, this one, it's like I don't. I mean, the first album is my favorite because I just enjoy listening to it the most. This one, as much as I like it, I can acknowledge how difficult it is, because it is difficult, and it does take some patience. It does take some like, not just patience, but just sort of an appreciation of proggy and more difficult things. I mean, because 1,000 Deaths alone, it's track 2. It's up front where you can't avoid it. Like it's right there. So it's a difficult album. I don't think it's paced as well, but I think the sheer audacity to do all this stuff and to do it so well, I can't not give it best. I mean, the songwriting is so strong on its own that you can just play any which way and the songs will still be good. But the simple fact that they are this diverse, he can pull one formula, make all the songs more slow on the R&B soulful side, and they'll still be good songs. But the fact that they're this fucking crazy and unpredictable, best.
And also that 15-year to like do this after 15 years is fucking insane.
That's a big gap. Yeah, that's
like, you still got that, like, he's still got that dog, and I don't think that, well, hopefully it never disappears from him, but like, yeah, to take like a 15-year break and be like this like bombastic and like still like pushing shit forward, it's like if I still played an instrument, it's really inspirational.
Definitely. It's not settling. It's what you get when someone is naturally curious about making the best art that they can and being interested in it. Whereas you get people that it becomes their job and they just do it because they're supposed to, or they don't have, or their tastes just don't really expand much. You get plenty of people who started out as great songwriters, and then after a while it just starts treading the same water, and it starts to get bored because they're not actually expanding anything themselves. They're not really listening to anything new, so they're not coming up with it. This is just what you naturally get when someone is a natural artist who's just organically evolving on their own, So fast forward 15 years, of course you're gonna get something this fucking crazy compared to the last thing, because that whole time they were still learning stuff, they were still interested in stuff. I think it's quite a natural progression. It just sounds nuts because it's such a huge gap.
Yeah, and just like on paper, I don't know, musicians don't do this, and that's just his whole career, right? No one does this. It's just he does this.
Yeah, you don't get fat when you're labeled a sex icon because
people would
like,
kill for that. I would kill for like that's like a monkey paw wish, right? Like people think they want it.
Yeah, you
and
don't
then
want that.
They get it, and then
yeah, I think fame in general is a total monkey's paw wish. But
absolutely.
So for these days, a couple things that I wasn't aware of. DAngelo apparently contributed to the soundtrack for Red Dead Redemption 2.
I also didn't know that till I was doing research for this podcast. I love it.
That's amazing. I still never played it because it's long, but it says on the wiki he sang on the song "Unshaken," which was produced by Daniel Lanois. He had previously served as a play tester for the game itself due to his love for the series. Amazing. He was a play tester for Red Dead Redemption 2.
DAngelo, stop. You already won me over. You don't need to keep doing cool shit.
Most recently, it says in 2024, he featured alongside Jay-Z on the song I Want You Forever from the soundtrack to the film The Book of Clarence. In September 2024, which was a couple months ago at this point, Raphael Sadiq said, D's in a good space and that DAngelo was working on a new album. So that's what we have as of right now.
And that could mean anything.
It could mean anything. Like, maybe another 10 years.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. I'm just like, I'm thankful. Like, I got to see him live. I'm like, this, I don't know. This, like, the story behind Voodoo is cool enough alone. And then we're like blessed with the Black Messiah. And I don't think he's talking about himself, but he also kind of is.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If you're referencing fucking Robert Christgau, then yeah, R&B Jesus, Black Messiah.
And then like even like R&B Jesus is like a disservice because he is like he's just so many things.
Black Messiah proves that he does a lot more than just R&B. I mean, it's
yeah.
Honestly, even the debut was like that was more. Yeah, it was R&B, but it was a lot of jazziness. You couldn't just call it R&B, or otherwise you'd be alienating people like me who would be like, I'm not interested. Yeah, there's more to it than that. Yeah, what a fun little, unexpected little discography here. God damn.
This is the silver lining to Destiny's Child, because if we didn't do that Destiny's Child episode and you weren't like fucking R&B, and then
hated it.
Also, if he didn't have a short discography, we wouldn't be so again, I don't know why I decided to throw Voodoo on vinyl, but something stopped me. And that's just the DAngelo story. I don't know why these things happen. They just happen.
Hell yeah. And that about does it for us. Let's do a little recap.
For me, Worsley's favorite, Brown Sugar. This because like that's him in like this embryonic stage, but it's still 1,000 times better than so many things. It's still a fun, great album. Best Voodoo. It's an album that gets deeper and better every single time you listen to it. The hype is much deserved on that one. And then personal favorite, The Black Messiah. I like transported me the first time listening to it. I never expected it, and he managed to do an album completely different from his previous two after a 14-15 year break. Just I'm gonna say it again, this is a true artist.
And for me, Brown Sugar, personal favorite, caught me completely off guard. Delightful, strong songwriting, jazzy and relaxing and sultry. Slutty jazz, baby. Slutty jazz. Worsley's favorite, Voodoo, based on 2 listens in my defense, but also it's long. Had a couple songs I didn't care for, whereas the other 2 albums I happen to adore. Bring Me to Black Messiah best. The sheer insanity, the sheer diversity, the fact that you can't pin it to any 2-3 genres. It's too jam packed, and it's difficult. which I find to be very engaging,
More
stimulating.
up your alley.
A little bit, yeah. But thank you so much for listening and watching. If you want to hang out with us further, subscribe, like the video, tell us why I'm wrong in the comments. Please go ahead and do that. You can follow me on all social media at PandaMonkey and Alex at
Every album ever on Instagram and
every album Alex.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
I'm just thinking about DAngelo. Every album Alex on Instagram, and then Octocron 3030 at Blue Sky.
And don't forget to follow our history guy, Tom Osman, at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for his music and whatever comes next, his podcast, where he interviews a bunch of indie musicians. And you can find links to all of that in the description. My EP, blah, blah, blah. You can find a link to that in the description. Baby. Patreon.com/every album ever. That's where you go.
We need our sugar daddies.
You get bonus episodes, 2 bonus episodes a month. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we cover next. You get to join the Discord, be a part of the community, hang out with us, talk some shit with other people amongst us, other music nerds. And you could also suggest, albums that came out this year for us to do singles episodes on. And if you're tier 2, if you're bigger than Jesus, then you can suggest a full discography. A full discography that will cover on these longer, bigger, numbered episodes, as well as any album from anywhere, and we can do bonus episodes on those. So there's a lot you could throw a bunch of requests at us. We can do a bunch of episodes. It's very fun, very interactive. Go there, do that. Thank you to all the new people who joined recently. And yeah, closing it out, what do you feel is most appropriate to close this out?
There's so many, but it's this 1,000 deaths. That's just what it is.
Really? Ooh,
it
wow.
is like even before this, it is one of my favorite DAngelo songs.
Time to weed out the motherfuckers. That's how you do it. Hell yeah. So thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.